On the day the shopping cart arrived in stores, the invention that would reshape retail was met with total silence from real customers. June 4, 1937. In Humpty Dumpty stores, a new machine waited for the public. It had wheels, it carried baskets, it promised relief, and it got nothing. The first shopping carts had debuted, but actual customers did not take them. Zero adoption. For an invention now so ordinary that it barely registers, that beginning is the part most worth holding on to. The shopping cart did not enter American life as an instant success. It entered as a visible failure. That low point matters because the idea seems obvious only after the fact. A cart in a self-service store feels inseparable from modern shopping. But on that opening day, the device was not yet normal. It was unfamiliar, conspicuous, and easy to ignore. Customers already had a routine. They came in, picked up what they could carry, and checked out. The cart asked them to change their behavior in public. It asked them to touch a strange object, push it through the aisles, and announce by their actions that this was now how they shopped. Nothing about that shift was automatic. An invention can solve a real problem and still fail if people do not want to be seen using it. That was the scene Goldman faced. Not a technical breakdown, not a missing patent, not a lack of ambition, but a simple and brutal verdict from the sales floor. The carts were there, the customers were there, and the customers kept walking. Before this story becomes the story of a retail staple, it has to stay here for a moment, in that awkward first encounter. Because the central question was not whether the cart could roll. Part 1, a limit, hidden in plain sight. It was whether people could be persuaded to make it part of their identity in the store. Sylvan Goldman owned the Standard Food Markets and Humpty Dumpty supermarket chains. He wanted to increase grocery sales, and he had noticed a constraint built into the act of shopping itself. Customers could buy only as much as they could physically carry. Their hands set the limit. Their strength set the limit. The baskets they carried set the limit. This was not an abstract insight. In a self-service grocery environment, every extra item depended on the shopper's ability to keep moving while holding what they had already chosen. Once a basket became heavy, the trip changed. The shopper was no longer browsing freely. The shopper was managing strain. Weight replaced curiosity. At that point, the store could still have more goods to offer, but the customer's body had become the bottleneck. Goldman wanted to free up the hands of customers who were physically limited by how much they could carry. That goal joined convenience and commerce in a single problem. If shoppers could move through the store without being burdened by increasing weight, they could continue selecting items. The shopping experience would become easier, and grocery sales could rise with it. That is the practical heart of the invention. Not a grand theory, not a futuristic vision, but a close observation of how a customer behaves when a handbasket gets too heavy. The stopping point was visible in every aisle. People reached a limit, and when they reached it, they bought less. So the question that follows the failed debut is this: if the need was real, why did the solution stall? Why would customers reject a tool designed around such a direct and obvious form of relief? Part 2, a chair on wheels. The answer had less to do with the burden of groceries than with the burden of appearances. In 1937, Goldman worked with mechanic Fred W. Young to design the first shopping cart. The prototype was based on a wooden folding chair fitted with a metal frame, wire baskets, and wheels. That description is worth slowing down over because it reveals how early the form still was. This was not yet the familiar single metal basket shape that later generations would know. It was a hybrid object, assembled from recognizable parts into something new. The wooden folding chair gave the design its underlying structure. A metal frame transformed that structure into something capable of carrying load. Wire baskets created a place for the groceries themselves. Wheels gave movement to what had previously been a burden in the shopper's hands. The result was a folding basket carriage for self-service stores, a device intended to move the shopper's goods so the shopper did not have to. There is a humble quality to that origin. One of the most enduring objects in retail did not emerge as a glamorous machine. It emerged from adaptation. A chair became the skeleton of a sales tool. Familiar materials and practical hardware were combined to answer a commercial problem in the supermarket. And yet, this is exactly where invention stories often become misleading if they are told too neatly. Designing a workable object is only part of the job. A device can be mechanically sound and socially unacceptable at the same time. The chair-based cart solved the issue Goldman had identified, but it also introduced a new challenge. It looked like something people had no cultural habit of using in a grocery store. That tension is what makes the next stage of the story so revealing. The problem in the aisles was heavy baskets. The problem at the debut was the human reaction to being seen with a wheeled carrier. The cart's mechanics were one hurdle. Part 3, the psychology of rejection. The public's self-consciousness was another. When the carts appeared, resistance came from both men and women, but not for the same reason. According to the reported reaction at the time, men resisted the new device because pushing it did not feel manly enough. Women disliked it because it seemed too suggestive of pushing a baby carriage. Those reactions may sound surprising now, but they explain why the carts could sit unused, even when they offered clear practical value. What Goldman had introduced was not simply a tool, it was a public gesture. To use the cart was to perform a new kind of shopping in front of other people. That made the device vulnerable to meanings beyond utility. If men associated it with a loss of masculinity, they would avoid it even if it reduced effort. If women saw it as too close to a baby buggy, they could reject it for what it symbolized, not for what it accomplished. This is the point where many invention stories would flatten human behavior into a joke or a punchline. But the more interesting reading is that people do not adopt technology based on efficiency alone. They adopt it when it feels acceptable inside the social world they inhabit. Goldman's first shopping cart collided with existing expectations about gender, movement, and appearance in public space. That helps explain the severity of the early rejection. The carts were not merely overlooked. They were, at first, incompatible with how actual customers wanted to see themselves. A heavier basket could be tolerated. A socially awkward image could not. And this is where the story sharpens. If the obstacle had been mechanical, the answer would have been redesign alone. But if the obstacle was psychological, then the breakthrough would have to happen in the mind of the shopper before it happened at the cash register. Part 4, Goldman's stage solution. The question became, how do you make a strange behavior look normal? Goldman refused to let the debut define the invention. To overcome shopper reluctance, he hired male and female models of various ages to act as shills, walking around the store and pretending to shop with the carts. It was a clever response because it addressed the exact point of resistance. Instead of arguing with customers about the merits of the cart, Goldman changed the scene they were looking at. If the problem was that no ordinary shopper wanted to be the first one seen pushing the device, then the solution was to erase the feeling of being first. Place people in the store who appear comfortable using the carts. Let other customers encounter the behavior as if it already belongs there. Show men using them. Show women using them. Show different ages using them. In other words, replace isolation with example. This was not a technical fix. It was social proof, staged inside the supermarket. The hired models served as living demonstrations that the carts could be used casually, without embarrassment, without explanation, and without drama. They made the act visible and ordinary at the same time. The brilliance of the tactic lies in how little it asked of the customer. Goldman did not require shoppers to study the invention. He did not need a speech for every aisle. He needed a new visual norm. Once people saw the carts being used as part of regular shopping, the barrier could begin to crack. There is also something revealing in the balance of the performance. The use of male and female models of various ages suggests that the hesitation was broad enough to require a broad answer. This was not a matter of persuading one narrow type of shopper. The invention had to be recast as acceptable across the store. So the turning point in the shopping cart's history was not a hidden laboratory improvement. It was theater in plain sight. Part 5. From Reluctance to Routine. A store floor carefully populated with fake customers so that real customers could imagine themselves joining in. Once that psychological barrier was challenged, the shopping cart moved toward the role it would eventually hold, a retail fixture. The irony is hard to miss. An object created to free shoppers from the limits of what they could carry first had to be rescued from the limits of what they were willing to be seen doing. The early story of the cart shows that adoption is often a second invention layered on top of the first. Goldman and Fred W. Young had already built a workable device in 1937, but the public use of that device required another kind of design, the design of acceptance. The fake customers were part of that second invention. Seen from that angle, the shopping cart's recovery was not magic and not inevitability. It came from identifying the true nature of the failure. If Goldman had assumed the carts were being rejected because customers did not understand their function, he might have responded in the wrong way. Instead, the reported strategy addressed embarrassment, familiarity, and social modeling. And once a customer takes hold of a cart, the original commercial logic returns in full force. Hands are freed. Weight is transferred to wheels. The shopper can continue moving through the aisles instead of stopping when a basket grows too heavy. The invention serves the purpose Goldman had noticed from the beginning, making it easier for people to buy more than their arms alone would allow. That is the recovery phase of the story. Not a dramatic reinvention of the object, but the gradual transformation of a rejected behavior into a routine one. A supermarket tool that initially felt awkward begins to look normal. What was once conspicuous becomes invisible through repetition. Part 6. Patent and Legacy. And when an invention becomes invisible in that way, it usually means it has won. On April 9, 1940, the design was officially awarded patent number 2196,914 under the title Folding Basket Carriage for Self-Service Stores. That patent date gives the story a formal milestone. By then, the shopping cart was no longer just an idea improvised from a folding chair, a metal frame, wire baskets, and wheels. It had entered the record as a patented design tied to the commercial reality of self-service stores. The patent title itself is almost modest compared with the cart's eventual place in daily life. Folding basket carriage for self-service stores. Plain words for an object that would become a pillar of retail. But maybe that plainness fits the story. The shopping cart was not born as a glamorous symbol of the future. It was a practical answer to a practical limit, made durable by persistence when the public first rejected it. Sylvan Goldman's role in that story is clear in the sources here. As owner of Standard Food Markets and Humpty Dumpty, he wanted to increase grocery sales by freeing customers from what they could physically carry. In 1937, he collaborated with mechanic Fred W. Young on the first design. When the debut failed, he did not abandon the idea. He confronted the rejection with a staged demonstration inside the store itself. That makes the shopping cart's history more than a tale of one useful object. It becomes a case study in how technology enters ordinary life. A machine can be well designed and still stall. A customer can recognize usefulness and still refuse. The path from invention to institution may run through discomfort, image, and imitation before it reaches acceptance. Today, the shopping cart feels so established that it can seem almost anonymous, but its beginning was specific. A supermarket owner observing heavy baskets, a mechanic helping shape a prototype from a folding chair, a failed launch on June 4, 1937, and a rescue plan built on fake customers pushing carts through the aisles until the real ones followed. That is the comeback at the center of the story, not from obscurity to fame, but from zero adoption to global familiarity. The shopping cart survived because its inventor understood that people do not simply adopt what helps them. Sometimes they first need permission to be seen using it. If themes of stress, pressure, or emotional strain come up for you while watching, consider reaching out to local mental health support resources or a trusted professional in your area.